there's a new SBIR pathway that most founders are not going to understand. And if you hear up to 30 million and think, great, more grant money, you're already thinking about it the wrong way. Because this is not just a bigger check. It's a signal that Congress wants certain startups to move beyond the prototype stage funding towards real transition, real deployment, real scale. Hey everyone, I'm Corey, a lawyer helping entrepreneurs decode law, technology, and innovation. And this video is part of our 7-part series on the new SBIR law and what founders need to understand now that the program has been reauthorized and updated. Today we're breaking down what may be the biggest commercial opportunity in the updated SBIR framework, and that's Strategic Breakthrough Awards. If you're building in defense tech, dual-use technology, artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, biotech, energy, or any category where the gap between technical validation and actual deployment is huge, this is something you need to understand, because this new pathway can matter a lot, but only for founders who understand what it is really designed to do. So here's what we're covering in today's video. What Strategic Breakthrough Awards actually are, why this is such a big shift inside the SBIR program, who may realistically qualify, why the matching funds requirement changes the founder playbook, and what serious founders should be doing now. So the big headline here is there's now a potentially much larger pool of money in the phase 2 lane. Let's start with this big headline. Congress has created a new breakthrough funding pathway inside SBIR. And for certain agencies with large enough R&D budgets, a portion of the SBIR allocation can now be used for much larger phase 2 awards. How large could they be? Potentially up to $30 million. And the period of performance can now go up to 48 months. And this is a very different scale than what most founders think of when they hear SBIR. So why is this such a big deal? Now, a lot of people are going to focus only on the dollar amount, and that is understandable. But the bigger story is not just the size, it's what the size means. For a long time, one of the biggest problems in the innovation ecosystem was that a startup could prove the technology worked, but still not have enough capital to support real deployment. You had to get enough funding just to build the prototype, maybe enough to show technical feasibility, but there was not enough available to bridge the gap to actual procurement, integration, and scale. That gap is where a lot of promising companies get stuck. And this new pathway is Congress basically saying that for some technologies, the gap is too important to ignore. Now, this is not for everyone, to be clear. This is not a universal expansion where every founder can suddenly expect an 8-figure government award. This is a selective pathway, and that distinction matters, because if you hear $30 million and you immediately start building your strategy around it without looking at the actual requirements, you're going to waste time. This program is designed for companies that are already further along, companies with real traction, real technical progress, and a real transition story. So who can actually qualify? Here's where the founder playbook gets more serious. To qualify, the company must already have at least one prior SBIR or STTR Phase 2 award. That alone should tell you something. Phase 2 is no longer a starter program. This is not for the earliest stage of the journey. This is for companies that have already gone through the system and they're trying to move further. And then there's another major requirement. You're going to need at least 100% matching funds. And the matching funds can come from new private capital, new non-SBIR government funding, or a combination of the two. And the company is also going to have to demonstrate that the technology is an effective solution based on market research. So again, this is not just we have interesting science. This is much closer to we have validated technology, a serious transition case, and outside support. So what does the matching funds requirement really mean? This is very important because the matching funds requirement changes how founders need to think. A lot of founders hear government opportunity and they assume the government is supposed to carry the whole thing. That is not what this structure says. This structure says if you want access to this larger opportunity, you need to show that other people also believe in the company's transition story. And that could mean private investors, that could mean other government funding sources, that could mean some combination. But the point is the same. Congress does not want oversized awards going to companies with zero outside validation. This is intended to create discipline, but it also creates leverage, because if you're a founder who can actually line this up, you are now no longer just saying, we won an SBR. You can now say, we have a technology that qualified for a larger government-backed transition pathway and attracted matching capital. That is a very different story. So why should investors care? This is where founders should think more strategically, because this is not just a grant story. This can become become a financing story. Now, this does not mean investors will automatically love it. They're still going to ask, is the pathway real? Are the milestones realistic? Is the customer real? Can this actually convert into procurement or revenue? But if the company can answer those questions well, this new framework can make the financing narrative that much stronger. Because now you're not just pitching technical risk reduction, you're pitching technical progress plus structured transition support. So why does this matter so much for certain sectors? This pathway is especially important in sectors where the jump from innovation to deployment can be expensive and slow. Areas such as defense tech, dual-use technology, advanced manufacturing, biotech, energy, infrastructure-related technology, artificial intelligence systems tied to serious operational use cases. These are the kind of areas where a company may have something very real, but still need a bigger bridge to get to the promise of being adopted. And that's why this pathway matters a lot. It's not just more money. It's the recognition that some technologies need more runway to become operationally meaningful. There's an even higher bar for the Department of Defense. If this is happening through the Department of Defense, expectations get even more specific. The company has to show a product, process, or technology with the right level of readiness. It needs commitment for inclusion in a program objective memorandum from a sufficiently senior acquisition official. And part of the matching funds has to come from new DoD funding outside of the normal Phase 1 or Phase 2 SBIR or STTR funding. That is a very important signal, ladies and gentlemen, because it tells you that this pathway is supposed to reward serious transition readiness, not just technical promise. Okay, so what's the founder mistake to avoid? Here's the biggest founder mistake: treating this like a bigger version of ordinary grant funding. That would be the wrong mindset. This is not just more non-dilutive capital. This is a transition tool, a scale-up tool, a commercialization tool, and if you approach it like we just got a bigger award, you're really missing the whole point here. The right question is not how do we apply for more money? The right question is, are we actually the kind of company this pathway is designed for? So if you're a serious founder, what should you do now? Here's my discipline playbook. First, you're going to need to assess whether you're even a real fit. Do you have a prior Phase 2 history? Do you have meaningful technical traction? Do you have a believable transition pathway? Can you attract matching capital? If not, this may not be your opportunity yet, and that's fine. It's better to know now than to build around the wrong assumption. Secondly, build a customer story and financing story together. This framework is not just about technology. It's about who wants it, why they want it, and what it takes to move into real-world use. Third, clean up your structure. If your company has foreign ties issues, messy licensing, weak diligence materials, or unclear ownership and data rights practices, these problems matter more as the size and strategic opportunity increases. Fourth, watch agency implementation. Congress has created the authority, but the agencies will determine how it becomes real in practice. So you need to track who is using it, how they're using it, and whether your company fits where the pathway is actually becoming operational. Okay, so the strategic takeaway here is this is very big picture. Strategic Breakthrough Awards show that SBIR is evolving. This is no longer just a framework for helping startups prove something works. For serious companies, it's becoming a more serious bridge between early validation and actual deployment. That's going to be your real signal. The government is not just saying we want to fund innovation. It is saying for some technologies, we want a stronger mechanism to help move toward operational use, and founders who benefit most will not be the ones who get distracted by the headline number. They will be the ones who build the company into the kind of company this pathway was designed to support. So let's recap. This is part of our 7-part series on the new SBIR law because this new pathway may be one of the most important commercial changes that founders need to understand. Strategic Breakthrough Awards can now support Phase 2 funding for up to $30 million over a period of 48 months. But this program is not for everyone. It is designed for more mature companies with prior Phase 2 history, matching funds, and real transition potential. The matching funds requirement changes the founder playbook, and the smartest founders will treat this as a scale-up strategy, not just a bigger grant. It is a government signal about which companies the government wants to move further, faster. Join me on the path to decoding law, technology, and innovation to grow your business. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time.